right, in all seriousness, I'm going to have a hushed voice so that you'll see how that worked. Very good. Okay, well, good afternoon. My name is Karen LaFrazier, and I'm the president and CEO of St. Francis House. And oh my God, I want to welcome each and every one of you here today for the ribbon cutting ceremony of the Union. This is a day long in coming and fantastic in making. And while it wasn't in my prepared remarks, I can't help but call attention to the weather. Okay, for those of you, and I know the governor will, remember our groundbreaking? It was like 102 and 100% humidity. It was so hot.
And it was hotter inside.
And it was hotter inside because there was no air conditioning. And today it's raining. And while I wish I could have called for beautiful sunny weather, right? I thought how poignant that the weather today speaks for the need in and of itself to provide affordable housing for people who are experiencing homelessness. The men and women that St. Francis House serves are people who have to bear the elements every single day. So while I wish it was beautiful weather, take it as a gentle reminder, yet one more reminder of why today is so important. So what are we here today? The Union. I think everybody knows that this is a beautifully renovated historic building, that it has transformed what was once a gym from the Boston Young Men's Christian Union into 46 gorgeous studio and one-bedroom apartments. We've taken that 150-year-old legacy and turned it into affordable housing for people who were once homeless, and for others who just needed a safe, affordable place to live. And we're so grateful that this legacy will continue on for at least another 100 years. With the opening of the Union, this now brings to 102 the total number of affordable housing units with a downtown Boston, Boylston Street address. Yes. And even though we're cutting the ribbon today, we didn't wait to fill the units. So all but one is completely leased up, and people have been living there for at least a month now. So, and the last fellow's moving in within the next couple of weeks. What this means for all of us is summed up, I think, in the very name of the property, the Union. The project is the result of a unique partnership between St. Francis House and the Planning Office for Urban Affairs. In partnering with the Planning Office, we chose an affordable housing developer, not only with exceptional expertise in developing affordable housing, but a partner who comes to this work with the same passion and understanding that ensuring all people have safe, decent, and affordable housing, and that this is an issue of social justice. So I want to thank you, Lisa and Bill, for everything that you have taught me. I could not have asked for a better partner on this journey, and I look forward to our next adventure together, one that will truly define who we are as a neighborhood. And thank you to our very own St. Francis House's Joe Fitzpatrick. Yes, give it up. Joe would say it was a total team effort, but everybody in this room knows he's the team's captain. So, but the Union is a partnership actually of everybody here today. So many people are responsible for making this vision a reality. But without the intervention of one incredible supporter, this project may never have come to be. Several years ago, one amazing St. Francis House board member, in an incredible act of generosity, purchased the BYMCU mortgage, preserving the property for its future development as housing for people experiencing homelessness. Thank you, Jim Sullivan. And I know from his place in heaven, he is truly our guardian angel. Jim embraced the vision of creating a more inclusive neighborhood, one where people from all walks of life would be neighbor. And so did all of you, our neighbors. As we worked our way through the approval process and went to one community meeting after another, there was not one voice of opposition. In fact, there were only voices of support. This is an incredible tribute to this neighborhood, residents and businesses alike. In one meeting, there was a call to build higher, and in another, a reflection that the union should be a model for replication. This is a wonderful neighborhood, filled with kind and compassionate people. And trust me, I never take for granted your support and appreciate the warm welcome you are giving to your newest neighbors. And as the vision for the union started to take shape, more and more people were drawn to its cause. People like Ted English from Bob's Furniture, who knew that for 26 people moving into these beautiful new apartments, they had nothing but the clothes on their back. And they needed more than a roof over their head. They needed a bed to sleep in, a couch, tables, and chairs. Through another act of incredible generosity, Ted English and Bob's completely furnished all the apartments that people who once were homeless would now be living. Many residents are here today, and others have generously offered to open their homes so that you can meet your newest neighbor and see for yourself the beautiful apartments they now call home. But supporting people does not end with the construction of the housing. Another partner, Maloney Properties, will professionally manage the building. And the amazing staff of St. Francis House, located just across the street, will provide wraparound support services to ensure everyone who lives there will not only be stable in their new apartments, but they will thrive. Everything from food and clothes for those still struggling to make ends meet, or mental health counseling, recovery services, and job training. The love and the support for the union began many years ago and will continue to extend for years to come. We are a community, an extended family, and that is what we are all doing here today, creating a community for people who were once on the outside looking in. Beyond the obvious tangibles of safety and a home base to pursue work or education, we are doing today what everyone needs, and our guests talk about the most. They talk about what having a home means, being a place where you belong, being part of a community. So today, in unity, we celebrate the union, the men and women who have a new home, and all of you who made this possible. And today we define what the world needs most: love, compassion, and community. So thank you all for making this dream a reality. And it's now my honor to introduce Cardinal Sean O'Malley, our spiritual leader, who is the very embodiment of those virtues. The Cardinal's deep commitment to serving the most vulnerable is apparent in so many ways. From coming every Christmas morning to lead a prayer service with our guests, staff, volunteers, and neighbors, to the tremendous support of the Planning Office for Urban Affairs and the work that they do to create affordable housing. The Archdiocese is a true partner in meeting this critical need of serving the people we serve. Thank you, Cardinal Sean.
Thank you very much, Karen. We are so grateful to have this extraordinary leader in our community whose life and ministry here has made such a difference in so many people's lives. And it's a privilege for us in the Archdiocese through Lisa Alberghini and Bill Grogan and the Archdiocesan Planning Office to be a partnership with all of the others who are supporting this. And the presence of our governor and our mayor here are so significant and so important to the commitment that we need to resolve the great problems of homelessness in our midst. It's very encouraging that St. Francis House and the Urban Planning Office and Pine Street Inn have been able to do so much to get permanent housing for people. Just getting them off the street at night is wonderful, but obviously our goal must be, as Karen said, creating a home for people where they will feel safe and wanted and have a place of their own. And that's what the union is going to be about. And so for all of us, it's a great privilege to be here. And now let us pray. Lord Jesus Christ, by your life with Mary and Joseph, you sanctified the life of the home. Dwell with us in our home, so that we may have you as our guest of honor and you as our head. In you, every dwelling grows into a holy temple. Grant that those who will live here may experience community. You taught your followers to build their houses upon solid rock. Grant that the members of this community may hold fast to your teaching and, free of all discord, serve you with all their heart. You had no place to lay your head. You were homeless, but uncomplainingly you accepted the hospitality of your friends. Grant that through our help, people who are homeless may have decent, affordable housing. Lord, we ask you to bless all of us here today. Bless your servants who will move into this home and ask for your blessing. Be their shelter when they are at home, their companion when they are on the way, and their welcome guest when they return. And at last receive them into the dwelling place you are prepared for them in your Father's house, where you live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much, Cardinal Sean. I have been so fortunate to have worked with the Cardinal over all of these years. He has such a deep regard for the homeless and the poor, and I've often said that Cardinal Sean has a very simple message, which is care for one another and serve one another, especially the most vulnerable among us. And he has done that and led by his example, so thank you, Cardinal Sean. As I think most of you know, I'm Lisa Alberghini, the president of the Planning Office for Urban Affairs, and we are a social justice ministry of the Archdiocese of Boston. And we develop permanent affordable housing where all people can live with dignity and respect in homes they can afford. We have an amazing staff, Bill Grogan particularly, and Amaryllis Rodriguez were key in having this happen from POUA's side. We also have Dave Aiken and Celeste Perry with us here today. In our office, I just want to take 1 minute to tell you, our office has a lot of work underway right now with great partners, like the incredible Sally O'Rourke. I don't know if Sally made it here today. She was planning to, from GHF in Haverhill. And also, she is incredible. So I told her I would tell you that I said Haverhill, Governor.
See, that would matter.
And also Donald Alexis. I don't know if Donald Alexis made it here, from Caribbean Integration Community Development in Mattapan. Here at the Union, we've been fortunate enough to be blessed with partners, as partners with Karen LaFrasia, Joe Fitzpatrick, and everyone at St. Francis House. St. Francis House has an extraordinarily committed staff and a passionate leader in Karen. Karen has such strong principles and convictions and has devoted her life to helping others. And while she is a social worker by training, she has become a very astute developer. And I think her children might be here. I wanted to say to Andres and Daisy, if you are, that now that the union is complete, I will not bother your mother at home in the evenings anymore. Our partnership with St. Francis House and the Union is special because of who we serve together. Our residents are strong and courageous. Many have seen and endured far more in life than any of us in this room. Thankfully, I've been spared the journey through homelessness or not being able to find a home I can afford because I'm not sure that I would measure up to their courage. It is truly a time to celebrate, but I'm going to take just a moment to say there is still so much to be done. Having a decent, affordable home affects literally every aspect of our lives, and not having one devastates the strongest among us. Over the weekend, I was talking with Sheila Dillon. Thank you for Sheila, Mayor. And she reminded me that despite all of our work, there is such suffering. People are in peril. The need is so great. And we can't forget that. A couple of comments from some of our residents will drive that home, so to speak. One of our residents asked, how long can I stay? Because they're not used to being able to have a home. Another said, I've been waiting 8 years to cook a meal, when the mayor and I were taking a tour just before Christmas with some of the residents-to-be. And another one was astonished because he had his own bathroom. Think about how we all woke up this morning and how that compares. So while we are here today to celebrate an incredible accomplishment with amazing partners, to celebrate unity and inclusiveness, we cannot get complacent because there is so much more to be done and so many more who need homes they can afford. We all know communities are stronger and healthier when all people are included. Thank you, as Karen said, for making the union a reality and for your support of our next great POUA St. Francis House project, 41 LaGrange, where we will be building 126 units and a high-rise building right here where we all stand or sit now. Right here. I see. Karen, you were supposed to put in a plug for that, but I didn't hear that you did, so I had to. At any rate, I now have the wonderful pleasure of introducing our great Governor, Charlie Baker. Nobody believes more strongly than Governor Baker that all people deserve a decent, affordable home, and he acts on those words. Governor Baker has invested in affordable housing in a clear, consistent, creative, and very significant way. From his capital plan to his initiatives to understanding the infrastructure that's needed to have housing succeed. One of the most important parts of Governor Baker's approach to affordable housing is that it is for everyone. At-risk populations, middle-income households, veterans, public housing residents, seniors and families, the disabled and the homeless. It's about, as he has said, advancing a strong, vibrant, and inclusive Commonwealth for everyone. Since 2015, Governor Baker's administration has invested more than $1 billion in affordable housing, resulting in the production or preservation of more than 17,000 housing units, including 15,000 of those as affordable. In 2018, last year, Governor Baker signed the largest housing bond bill in Massachusetts history, committing more than $1.8 billion to the future of affordable housing production and preservation. His administration has also advanced the development of more than 7,000 mixed-income units through the MassWorks infrastructure program and reformed the HDIP program. I do want to say a big part of Massachusetts' affordable housing crisis is the result of local zoning. That can have the effect of restricting housing choice and limiting housing opportunities. Zoning reform is key to addressing that crisis, and Governor Baker's Housing Choice Initiative is an important tool to promote necessary housing. And we would urge everyone to support passage of that legislation, which apparently he's already doing over there. So it's pretty key. To support the union, Governor Baker provided $4 million in subsidy resources and significant allocations of low-income housing tax credits that enabled us to raise nearly another $12.5 million in equity. This is a very deep commitment. And he has an incredible team to help him with that. Kate Racer at DHCD. I don't know that Kate's here today. Jen Maddox, who's doing a fabulous job as acting undersecretary. She is here today. Thank you so much, Jen. Appreciate that. Roger Herzog at CDAC, I think I saw here. Thanks, Roger and CDAC. Crystal Cornegay could not be here today from Mass Housing. Clark Ziegler and Sue Conley at the Mass Housing Partnership, who I have to say first brought St. Francis House and POUA together and also funded some startup work for us to build this kind of creative partnership. So, Governor Baker, for your commitment, your team, and the resources. Thank you so much, and please welcome Governor Baker with me. Thank you.
So Lisa did such a great job, I have almost nothing left to say. Let me start, first of all, by just saying that this really was a partnership. It was a partnership between the Archdiocese, the city, the state, and a whole bunch of other folks to make this happen. And the first time I heard about this project was actually from Crystal Cornegay when she was the head of DHCD. And we were talking about a whole series of initiatives that we were pursuing, and we spent a few minutes on this one, and I was familiar with the building, although I didn't know anywhere near as much about it as I know now. And several days later, I ran into Sheila Dillon at another event, and Sheila brought it up. And I said, okay, Sheila, it's funny you should bring that up. I just talked to Crystal about this the other day, and here's the 4 things she told me she needs answers from the city on. And I thought it was really great that I had a chance to put Sheila Dillon, who's known Crystal Cornegay for 1 million years, and Crystal Cornegay, who's known Sheila Dillon for 1 million years, together through their conversations with me, because I think they thought I actually had something to do with making the decision, when in fact it was really ultimately going to belong to the two of them and a whole host of other people. And that brings me to my most fundamental point about not just this project, but many of the projects that Lisa talked about, and both the state funding and the tax credits and the thousands of units of affordable housing that we've been working on. These are team sports, these efforts. And I say this all the time about a lot of stuff that's related to life and government. It is a team sport. And you don't get anywhere unless you have a whole bunch of people on the team who are willing to play well, representing the particular interests and concerns that they have. And in this particular case, as Lisa went through, there were a lot of members on this team, and Karen said the same thing. And it started in this case with the Archdiocese, and it involved a host of others. And by the way, if you don't get the state funding out of the legislature, represented here today by Representative Michaelwitz and Senator Boncory, then you don't have anything to work with in the first place. And at the City Council, we have Ed Flynn, and I saw, where did Anissa go? If you don't have the City Council involved, and if you don't have the Mayor's office and the Mayor's team, and then a whole bunch of other folks who are actually going to do the work that's associated with a project that was as complicated as this one, it doesn't happen. And there are risks for everybody, and the most important thing about this is everybody found a way to come together on behalf of a larger goal and objective, which was to find a way to create permanent affordable housing in this neighborhood in the city of Boston, across the street from St. Francis, where you had a willing partner who was going to be able to step up and do a lot of the work associated with services and supports for the people who were going to be living there. And one of the things I learned a long time ago about most supported housing, and I go back to when I was at Health and Human Services working on this stuff in the early 1990s, there's a lot of players involved. And under most of their statutory authority, they're not necessarily set up to work with each other. And what truly makes these projects special is people get outside what I would call the traditional realm they play in to find a way to play with a whole bunch of other folks to pursue a larger initiative that they all share a common objective with, which in this case was creating a series of supported affordable units here on Boylston Street, right in the middle of the city of Boston. And that doesn't happen with a whole bunch of people working collaboratively together to pull it off. I wasn't aware we had another one in the pipeline until I walked in the door today. Thank you so much for pointing that out, Karen. Yeah, we'll look forward to talking. Jen, you can have a conversation with Sheila about that. It'll probably be the same one that Crystal had with Sheila back in the day. Yeah, but it already happened. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But the bottom line is these are sort of the projects that that we all should take tremendous pride in. And I just want to thank everybody who was part of the team that made this happen. And we look forward to finding a way to continue to do this going forward. And I do appreciate the plug, Lisa, for our housing choice legislation. I'm very anxious to sign that so we can get going on a whole series of projects that, if you got to get to 8 to 3 and 4 to 1 and 5 to 2, they're just never going to happen. But they're all projects that in many cases a majority of the elected authorities in most communities would like to see happen. And it kills me every time one of these goes down. And it's happening with an increasing frequency, and it really does create many, many missed opportunities for us to do really good things for people here in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
So before I introduce our next speaker, I just wanted to officially acknowledge a couple of folks in the audience today. Our City Councilor Ed Flynn, Councilor Asabi George, and we have Bob Polsty here on the federal side of things from the ICHH. So thank you guys for showing up. Because it takes an awful lot of people. But while it takes everybody that we've talked about to come together in partnership to make this happen, it really wouldn't happen if we didn't have true leadership. And it's my greatest honor to introduce our next speaker. All you need to do is look around the country, and you can see that no one is doing more to end homelessness than our very own Mayor, Marty Walsh. Yes. I know he cares deeply and personally about people who are experiencing homelessness. He feels their pain, and he knows the transformative power of creating permanent affordable housing. And that is why he has transformed in the city of Boston our homeless services system. He has made sure that everyone has a pathway to housing. He has a vision for the city of Boston to be an inclusive city with neighborhoods representing people from all walks of life. And we are so very grateful to his support for the union and what it means to the men and women in this neighborhood. Our Mayor, Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Karen. There's a lot said so far today, so I'll try and be brief. I want to, first of all, thank Karen for her incredible work. Cardinal, I want to thank you for your opening prayer and your work as well for the poor of our city and our state and our country. Lisa, thank you. Lisa goes to Sheila, then she grabs me, and then I go to Sheila, and Sheila says, "Already, it's going to happen." So I want to thank you. To the governor and your team, thank you very much. To the Secretary of State, I don't think he's here, but Bill Galvin actually had a big part of this as well. I want to thank the Secretary of State's office, Maria Barry at Bank of America, the elected officials that are here, Eddie and Joe and Aaron and Anissa, thank you very much as well. Sheila Dillon, Brian Golden. It's important, I think, to mention people because they do the work. Thank you for all you do. Jim Green that's here. Thank you very much. Jerry Thomas that's here from my office, from the city. Father Tom from St. Anthony's Shrine, who walks the walk every day. Thank you, Father. And Father Kickham, who's hiding over here, who also, thank you, Father Kickham, for what you do. And so many other folks under this tent. Thank you for your work. As I look around, there's a lot of stories of individuals that have done a lot of great work over the course of their career, their life, and still do it now. Ryan Hutchins from Gilbane. I want to thank you all for what you do every single day. This is an exciting day. I was with the governor earlier. We broke ground on the Amazon project, 2,000 new jobs coming to Boston, and we talked about creating opportunities for people in the city of Boston to work. And coming out of that project is about $4.5 million worth of money for low-income housing. And you think about, so as we bring new companies to the state and the city, some of that money that's being out of those projects goes right back into helping people, so we don't have to build build housing for homeless people, so people have homeless housings now, so they don't end up experiencing homelessness. And that's something that we have to continue to do. The governor already mentioned this. This project truly is a home for a lot of people, but it's not easy to do. St. Francis House, the Planning Office, Urban Affairs of the Archdiocese, the city, the state, Bank of America, the building trades, the Secretary of State, all of those different organizations and many others have made financial contributions or just made this project happen. I want to thank you. You know, I was lucky enough a couple months ago to come and visit a few residents. I met Keith, John, and Brian. I was in their apartments. They have the finest real estate in the city of Boston, overlooking Boston Common. I'm telling you right now, it's not bad. But I was so proud that they showed me their home and to explain to me, and I know they're here today, a new lease on life that everyone deserves, and I want to congratulate you on that. It's also important to understand that this beautiful building, and thank you, Mr. Sullivan, is in the heart of our city. This is prime real estate. This property could have been purchased turned into luxury condominiums. It's in an incredible spot, but we're glad to see it as affordable housing. This project represents our beliefs that every single person in the city deserves compassion, support, and a safe place to call home. And that's what we have to continue to thrive for. We're going to continue to work on all chronic homelessness. And I just want to, in the beginning of this, the event here tonight, it was I felt a little somber. So I just want to talk a little bit real quickly about where we are in Boston and how we got there. This isn't Mayor Walsh. This isn't the elected officials. This isn't the advocates. This is all of us. We've been able to, through Boston's Way Home Fund, house 772 chronically homeless individuals and over 1,000 chronically homeless veterans in the past 3 years. That's incredible. Actually, that's 5 years. 5 years. In the past 3 years, we've been able to reduce chronic homelessness by 20% in the city of Boston. We're creating 420 new permanent supportive housing opportunities. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens not because the mayor or the governor's committed. That happens because we have a committed group of people that want to address this issue. And that's why that happens. And I want to thank everyone in here and that isn't here today that helped us get to those points. It was already mentioned, Lisa talked about this parking lot that's going to be housing 126 brand new mixed income rental units. And I know that we don't have much opposition, but sometimes we do. And I just want to be clear on this. We're in downtown Boston. We've built a lot of nice housing in the city of Boston, a lot of high-end housing in the city of Boston, and there's no reason why people who previously experienced homelessness don't get a chance to live in the same downtown as other people do. And we're going to make sure that happens. And I just want to end by thanking you. This is an exciting day. This is such an exciting day because as we walked around the new units a couple weeks ago, and we saw a chance to see the look on three gentlemen's faces who were beaming with pride, wanted to show us their apartment. I want to thank everybody who made that possible, because that is what we should be doing. That is our moral obligation to do, to make sure we take care of people that need the help. Because I guarantee you, whether it's Keith, whether it's Sean, or whether it's Brian, if we needed a hand, they'd be the first ones there for us. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that, for your comments. And you're absolutely right. They would be the first people to help us. And thank you for your comments about the work we're doing going forward and how important it is that we have that housing downtown. And you can't always please everyone, but we're hoping that that is going to be underway very, very soon. I also want to thank you, Mayor, for your commitment. And I got to thank you for Sheila Dillon and for Kelly Shea and Chris O'Keefe and Jessica, Brian Golden, who's been amazing, Jim Green, who I think first also suggested that we get together. So thank you, all of you, for your great help, and especially to our great mayor. As Karen said, regrettably, or as Karen I think wanted to let people know, regrettably, Secretary Galvin cannot be with us today, but his involvement and support was crucial to our success. And really, with the very significant allocation of state historic credits awarded by the Secretary, we're saving a property And more importantly, we're saving countless people and lives. So although he can't be with us, we really owe Secretary Galvin many thanks for his tremendous help and support. I'd now like to introduce Maria Berry, Community Development Banking Executive, National Executive of Bank of America. As many times before, Bank of America has played a huge role in financing the union. Once again, they provided both construction financing and equity, and they also helped us overcome some early obstacles as a result of the new tax law that our president put into place last January. To get the union built, the bank provided a $16 million construction loan and purchased 4 kinds of tax credits: state and federal low-income housing tax credits, state and federal historic tax credits, to provide $19.6 million in equity, and that is a very major investment. In partnership with Bank of America, Eastern Bank also participated in the construction loan with $3.2 million and received a $500,000 grant and a subsidized advance for this project from the Federal Home Bank of Boston. And I want to thank Pam Feingold and Pat Capalbo of Eastern, and Ed Yerpe and Ken Willis and Toby of Federal Home Loan Bank. I will say one other thing about the bank. Unbelievably, they have supported the planning office's work with nearly $222 million of financing to our projects over the years, including their construction and equity financing. And that is just an astonishingly productive relationship that no other financial institution has come close to. Just before Maria comes up, I also want to thank her fabulous team, Mary Thompson, Trish Marinelli, Michael Clark. They do great work with creativity and enthusiasm over and over again every single time we take a deal to them. Please welcome Maria Berry.
Great. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you today representing Bank of America at this important ribbon cutting. It's just one of the highlights of my job to be able to come out here and see this amazing work, and also to be joined by the Cardinal, the Governor, the Mayor, other elected officials, as well as so many partners and leaders from throughout the community. I'm in total agreement that this is a team sport. I'm absolutely on board with that. It's amazing what it takes to pull this all together, and I'm so grateful for all of you and for all the hard work. I promised the mayor, too, I would give a shout out to a couple other people on his list, Buddy Christopher from the Inspection Services Department and Dennis Keeley from the Fire Department. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to open on time, and thank you to them as well. So it's just wonderful to be here to celebrate the terrific work of Lisa and Bill and Karen and their incredible teams to pull this together. This is a very complicated development and one that took a lot of different parties coming together, and they are just unbelievable leaders in making it all happen, and we have so much confidence in them. So as Lisa mentioned, Bank of America provided more than $33 million in equity and debt financing to help preserve this beautiful building, create new housing, to help with the supported services so that St. Francis House can further its mission in supporting a person's right to safe and stable housing. Impactful projects like this are part of Bank of America's larger commitment to community development, which we have a 10-year commitment of $1.5 trillion, and that's lending and investing over a 10-year period. Our team works to meet the needs of the local communities and helps create meaningful change in the communities where we live and work, including this amazing neighborhood. I'd like to just really stop and thank you all for your support. I'd like you to join me in congratulating this amazing team. Each person had a major contribution to make it happen, and I want to thank you all for your dedication and vision for more housing in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It really is. So there's one other person that I wanted to introduce right now, and it's Senator Boncory. When he was just a candidate, for office, he came down to St. Francis House because he wanted to learn about what the needs of people experiencing homelessness were. He didn't need to do that. It's not exactly a big voting block, but he cared enough to learn and understand about homelessness. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And he has continued since he's taken office to support every bit of our work at St. Francis House, including this union project. So I'd like to introduce our friend, Senator Boncory.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. It's really an honor and a privilege to be a small part of a great piece of real estate in Boston, a piece of real estate that's going to go so far in serving so many. I want to thank the Cardinal for being here. Of course, from the Office of Urban Development, Lisa Alberghini, thank you for being here. Might I add, from Winthrop, Massachusetts. So often I'm outnumbered at these downtown events, but thanks for tipping the scales a little bit. I had met Karen when I was a candidate, and when I won in the state Senate, I was quickly named to the chair of the Housing Committee for the State Senate. And what became readily apparent to me, and I think is still, unfortunately, the issue, is that the Commonwealth is in a complete housing crisis. We simply do not produce enough housing to meet the expected and really realized growth in our economy and adding jobs like the mayor and the governor did today with the Amazon project. And to keep up with our economic growth, we are going to have to add more housing. And a great deal of that is going to need to be affordable housing. One of my proudest moments in last year's legislature was standing right next to the governor as he signed the largest housing bond bill in this state's history, and really that's ever happened in the country, and reaffirmed really his commitment to affordable housing in the Commonwealth. And the next step this year, as we talk about, and he has kicked off and started the conversation, I would say, on housing production. I know, Governor, that with the teamwork you were talking about right here, we will all give and we will all gain in this Commonwealth and get to that housing production bill. Housing has become so expensive in this area and around the greater Boston area because as we add job and add population and add jobs, we simply don't produce enough multifamily housing. It's an interesting fact that about 5 communities, 5 cities and towns in this Commonwealth have zoned 75% of the multifamily housing production in the entire Commonwealth. Think about that. We need to do more as a Commonwealth and as individual municipalities. But it'll be no surprise to anyone in this room that the city of Boston is the largest producer of multifamily housing and housing generally in this Commonwealth. And that's thanks to the great leadership of our Mayor, Marty Walsh, who's made a commitment, not just in the area of housing, although he has made a commitment to produce about 69,000 units of housing by 2030, which is amazing. But in every area of the vulnerable populations that we all served, whether it's homelessness, whether it's substance use disorder, if you go to the Boston Medical Center, or you go to any homeless shelter in Boston, it's not just Bostonians in those shelters and in those facilities. It's people across the Commonwealth coming here to use our resources because they know that Boston does it best. So I want to thank the mayor for helping, with this issue and so many other issues. And to my partner in the legislature, Aaron Mikowitz. Now that he is in the positions he's in, I think we're going to have a real good shot at housing production, Governor. But really, the best thing Aaron's done so much for me in my career, but one of the best things he ever done is introduce me to Karen LaFrasia. Early in my career, I went to saw her on his advice, and we talked about the issues here, and we talked about the vulnerable populations. I think she knew better than me that as soon as I got sworn in, I'd go right into a budget and maybe be able to be helpful for her. But really, no matter how tall this building is, Karen, as you were talking about before, this building will serve as a beacon for so many municipalities across this Commonwealth. This is how to best serve vulnerable populations. This is the wraparound services you hear so much about. This is right in the middle of some of the most luxury developments we have in our entire Commonwealth. And we're producing an all-inclusive community, and it should be celebrated. Our diversity here at the center should be celebrated. It's been said so many times before that you can really judge a society by how they take care of their most vulnerable citizens. And thanks to the good work of Karen and everyone in this room from St. Francis House, when they look at this project, when they look at our city, and they look at our Commonwealth, I think we'll have done a very, very great job. So thank you so very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to phase 2.
Just for the record, 19 stories, 126 units. But, okay, so our next speaker, I wanted to introduce someone from all of the legislators. Representative Michaelwitz represents perhaps the most diverse of all regions in the Commonwealth. Within his district alone, he has people who are living in million-dollar condos and represents, I think, 5 different homeless shelters. And for some folks, being able to treat those various constituencies equally and fairly would be a difficult task, but not for Representative Michaelwitz. He is a tireless advocate for all of his constituents. He knows to his very core that when all people have a permanent home and can live with dignity, the entire community thrives. So now, as the chair of House Ways and Means, Representative Michaelwitz is bringing those values to the entire Commonwealth. So please, it's my great pleasure to introduce our friend, Aaron.
Thank you, Karen. And I'm going to be brief because you've heard from plenty of people today. But I appreciate everyone's patience and everyone being here today. And thank you for having me. I just want to thank a couple people. First off, I want to thank the community at large. We have as Karen said, such a diverse population in the 3rd Suffolk District. But it takes a village to make things work. And certainly the community embracing this project and other projects like it is so important to making sure we continue to move the ball forward on affordable housing in downtown, because while we are experiencing such great growth in Boston, and especially in downtown Boston, it doesn't mean anything unless we all come along and we all grow together. And that's because of the people in this room and the people that live in this community as well, being so open to those conversations and those discussions. I want to thank Mayor Walsh and Governor Baker and their teams for being so not just greenlighting projects, or not just making sure projects go through, but actually being activists about it, pushing them forward and making sure that they reach their goals and hit their deadlines and get things done in a quick manner, because we need this done as quickly as we possibly can see. And I especially Sheila Dillon, for one. I know she's been mentioned many a times, but she's been a great partner to work with from my office, and I know from many of the electeds' office as well, not just in this part of the region, but also across the entire city itself. I know Senator Boncory and myself are greatly appreciative of that work. And Governor Baker, thank you, to your team. And I appreciate the governor's interest in the housing choice bill and his push for that. The last time he mentioned this when I was in a room, he said to ask people to tackle me if they wanted to see the bill done. And so I appreciate you kind of toning back that rhetoric today and just saying to people to advocate for your housing choice bill. I know the Housing Committee is actively working on this, and I know, like Senator Boncory said, there's a number of parties that are interested in seeing this done, and I'm hopeful that we will see something done before the end of the legislative session, or if not sooner. And then lastly, to Karen LaFrazier, I just want to thank you for the partnership that you've provided me and many of the electeds in this room over the years in pushing the envelope, making sure that our faces are looking in the right direction towards the appropriate goals that we have. The history I have with this project is that about 6 or 7 years ago, Karen brought me up to show the housing that was refurbished within St. Francis House, and she wanted to show me around and show me the different units. And then we went and sat down in the conference room, and I said, "Oh, this is great! You should be so proud of yourself. You got this thing done, and you've moved this forward, and everyone's benefiting from it." And she said, "Yeah, I'm not done. Look, let's go to the window." And she went to the window and she pointed to this building over here and said, "This is what my dream is. This is where I want to go." And that building turned into this project that we have going across the street, and I can't wait to see what happens when we finish that. Where else you're going to point us to? Right here, yeah. So I know you're never done. I know your work's never done, and so for that I applaud you, and I appreciate everything you've done for me in making sure that we have our heads on straight going forward. So thank you for all the work, for all the partners in the room. Like the governor said, it takes a team to get things done, and we appreciate everything that you've done to make this happen. and thank you for having me again here today. Thank you.
Okay, I said it was our last, and now I really do mean our last speaker, and it couldn't be saving the best really for last, because I couldn't be more pleased to introduce the next gentleman to you all. It's someone who represents not only himself, but the very reason we are all gathered here today. As a gentleman, as this gentleman in particular, I have known for many years. I've known him as a client, I know him as a colleague, and now as a neighbor. Please give it up for Andrew Moskovich.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to begin by saying thank you to Cardinal Sean, Governor Baker, and Mayor Walsh for your leadership and concern for people experiencing homelessness. Thank you, Lisa Alberghini and the Planning Office of Urban Affairs for your partnership with St. Francis in the building of the Union. And a big thank you to my new neighbor, Karen, President and CEO of St. Francis, for inviting me to speak today as a resident of the Union. The first time I came to the front doors of St. Francis House was in the fall of 2011. I lost my housing earlier that spring and had been bouncing around from place to place ever since. I was homeless for the first time and didn't know where to turn to next. And just to say one thing about being homeless, homelessness is devastating. It's devastating to the person, the family, the community. And for me, when I was homeless, it sometimes felt impossible, like I should just give up. I thought this cannot get any worse, but then it would. Homelessness becomes a full-time job. Where is my next meal going to come from? How am I going to get to my doctor's appointment tomorrow? How can I get a job if I don't have an address? And the big one, where am I going to stay tonight? That's not a question I or anyone else should ever have to ask again. In May of 2012, I was accepted into the St. Francis House Moving Ahead program, or MAP as we call it. It was a miracle the way the timing worked out, because I was about to finish a recovery program and was a day away from being homeless and on the streets again. I'll never forget one particular class where the job coach drew a simple line on a graph that began with a downward spiral, and then at a singular point, it suddenly changed direction and shot upwards. The message was simple. This is the point where I can change the direction of my life if I wanted it, and I did. After graduating MAP, things did not automatically get better for me. I still struggled with housing and homelessness, but never gave up hope that things could get better. Armed with my newfound employment and interview skills, a fresh resume, and nice clothes to wear, I was eventually able to secure a full-time job and housing on the North Shore. Without the support of the MAP alumni team and St. Francis, I'm not sure any of this would have been possible. St. Francis House has had a profoundly positive impact on my life. St. Francis House has been there for me through all the ups and downs. When I had no place to turn, St. Francis was here. When I needed job coaching or nice clothes for a job interview, MAP staff was there. They never turned me away, no matter how bleak the situation may have been. I'm proud to say that today I work as a vocational specialist with Elliott Community Human Services, a human service agency doing for others what MAP did for me. Last May, I graduated from North Shore Community College with an associate's degree in human services. Thank you. Thanks. I never thought that would be possible. And soon I look forward to beginning work as a housing case manager with Bridge Over Troubled Waters here in Boston, helping homeless youth find safe and affordable housing. My relationship with St. Francis House and the wonderful people that make this organization has evolved over the years. Like Karen said, from client, I enrolled in the MAP program, to colleague, working as a vocational specialist and housing counselor, and now as a neighbor and resident at the Union. When I showed up at the front doors of 39 Boylston Street 8 years ago, desperate and literally begging for help, I could never have imagined that someday I'd be living here at the Union in a beautiful new studio apartment. St. Francis House has become like a second family to me, and I'm so thankful to be here today. As with many people who ended up at the front door of St. Francis, it's been a long and winding road, filled with pain and shame, but ultimately triumph. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of stable housing for people like me. The safety and dignity of a home and support of people that care about you makes all things possible. I'm truly grateful. On behalf of myself and the other 45 men and women who now call the Union home, thank you to everyone here today for whatever part you played in making this possible. It's a dream come true. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing the story of your journey with us, and for your grace, your courage, and your presence here today. I have to say, so Andrew now lives right above Karen's new office, and he was the one who would call down a few times when he first moved in and say, "Hi, neighbor." So it's great. So now we're going to cut the ribbon, and we're a few minutes behind schedule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Maggie. First of all, after the festivity, there will be tours of units in the building. If you want a tour, you're supposed to go to a table and sign up. We have 4 units open, 4 tour guides. The people waving in the back will get you in. So you want to go there. You might want to stay in the tent as long as possible because it's pouring out. But now we're going to set up to cut the ribbon. And while Maggie is doing that, I'm going to actually thank some other people. I will say we were initially going to cut the ribbon in the front of the building, but it's too long a walk and it's pouring out. So we're going to do it right here.
1, 2.